Good evening. Today I'm going to start my medicinal herb tour. I have been anxiously wanting to do this for a while now, but I went on a big trip, and before I went it was very rainy, and with my last food forest tour video I realized that I can't really film in the rain. It kind of messed up my whole the audio on my video. So I went through the garden because I also get very distracted when I do tours, and as I'm looking around at stuff, you know, I kind of veer off course from the direction that I wanted to go. And so I made a list of all the herbs that I have, and I realized in making this list that I have about 142 different types of herbs. Now this is not varieties. It's not like I have maybe 5 different types of monarda. So I didn't count that as 5. I counted one monarda, and that's it. So this could very well take a very long time. So I am going to probably split this video into parts. I will do my top area first. I might get into the lower area a little bit, but up here, this is more herbs than vegetables in this area, just because in this area we have very poor soil. So we are working on rehabilitating the soil and building it up again. But in the meantime, it's very sandy, dry. I mean, it drains really well, but a very sandy soil, which is perfect if you want to have herbs. And so these herbs are doing really well up here. And then I'll tell you a little bit about the growing conditions and why I planted them where I did. Some of them I just kind of stuck where they are. Some of them my mother-in-law planted. This first bed, some of the ones in this first bed I'm going to show you, my mother-in-law planted. I have repeats of some of these herbs, actually of all the herbs that she's planted in this first bed, throughout the whole garden and then in other areas. My herbs are very important to me, so I don't have herbs just in this one area. I have herbs by the house, I have herbs by the garage, I have herbs in my food forest. They're literally everywhere. So this might take a while. There might be a part 2, part 3, I don't know how long. But let me start off from the gate. So here's the gate. We just closed it. And as you can see here, the first thing that you're struck with is lavender. And there are 2 different lavender plants here, and you can see that, you know, we've got one that's blooming already, and then this other one that is almost about ready to bloom. Now, obviously, lavender, the reasons why we would plant that is not just because it's beautiful, but it's also calming. It really helps with like anxiety, stress, insomnia, stuff like that. So I would like to point out that when you are planting an herb garden, you are basically also planting a pollinator garden. The flowers on herbs are just very, very attractive to pollinators. And so what I did in my garden is, you can see there's a bed that goes down here, and it goes all the way around, and then it comes back up here. And that inside that is my 2 vegetable beds. Okay, so I've got pollinators all around my vegetable beds, which is really beneficial. Also, herbs are fairly unattractive to pests, and so and the strong aroma of them will confuse them and hide the smell of the vegetables. And so I thought surrounding this vegetable garden with herbs to kind of confuse the pests and keep them away would be a good thing as well. So things like geraniums, not geraniums, marigolds, things like that, as well as all the other herbs that I have in here just for my medicinal herb garden. So I did that on purpose because I wanted the pollinators and I wanted the others. So if you're going to have a pollinator garden, you might consider having a medicinal herb garden. And then it ends up being a pollinator garden as well. So then you got two bangs for your buck at that point, which is a permaculture principle. So here we go. So let me turn you around. Okay, so this is the lavender. And then we also have lavender all along that edge right there. And then the hill is all lavender as well. I have some lavender in my food forest because I just love lavender. Now you can see right here, this is the perennial passion flower. And I get this. This does produce fruit, which is really good. But it also is really good. I use the roots as well as the leaves and the stems somewhat, but mostly I use the roots for like anxiety, insomnia, stress, pain relief, stuff like that. And then right in front of it is thyme. And so the passion flower grows up on this fence, and that's why I planted it right here, because it will very thickly form like a wall of this up against that fence, and it does spread. So you can see there's a passion flower right there, and I kind of like that it spreads so much. I mean, this is really like it went far under the ground in order to get all the way over here. And you can see sometimes it'll be popping up in other beds. And the reason why I did that is because, or I like that, is because I can then pick up those sprouts or offshoots and use the roots on that without killing the main plant. So then I can have my root harvest. So here's thyme. I have probably 7 or 8 different varieties of thyme in the garden. This is just like your regular German thyme. Thyme is really good for like infections, both like in the respiratory and the digestive areas. And thyme is also really good for bone health, which is, I think, really important. So moving on from the thyme, now we have bee balm. Okay, so here's bee balm, and it kind of goes up the whole length of the bed. This is kind of like a wild herb bed. I love this. It's really well done. Bee balm, not a lot of people know that bee balm it's a lot of antis in there. So we got like antiseptic, antibacterial. It's really good for insect stings and like the pain that comes from those insect stings, as well as other pain relief too. Honestly, like that's some good stuff. These here are garlic chives, which is great because they spread, and then I'm able to transplant them over to the food forest because chives and alliums are good to have under fruit trees. I think I've said that before. Garlic chives, just like most alliums, garlic chives are going to help with digestion, promotes blood flow. This also helps heal wounds as well. Here is sage. And I am absolutely enraptured with sage. There's so many different types of sage that I have in my garden already. And there's more that I would like to have, I'm sure. But sage is actually really good for like Alzheimer's. Again, this does good pain relief. It helps with infections. It helps get rid of things like free radicals, aids digestion. If you're dealing with symptoms of menopause, sage is really good. If you have cholesterol problems, sage can help with that as well, which is really nice. Okay, so we've got that. And then down here, well, this is really like, I just love all these. We'll get to this kind of stuff later though. Down here under these beautiful poppies, I mean, look at these. I can't help but get a little bit distracted. I mean, look at it almost looks like painted silk. Oh, just gorgeous. So here is oregano, and I have divided this particular oregano so many times and put it all over the garden, because oregano is such a strong smelling plant that it really does a good job of pest control, or keeping away pests from vegetables and plants and food and stuff like that. But oregano is very antibacterial. This is another big anti one. So it's antibacterial, antifungal, anti-inflammatory, anti-parasitic. It's an antioxidant. Like, this thing will, it really does a lot of really good stuff. So let's see this beautiful flower. And I know I'm skipping over some stuff, but I made a list and I'm going to go in order and I'm going to hit everything. Don't worry. So this is valerian. If you can see these beautiful flowers. Now, normally if you see a flower that has umbels like that, things like wild carrot, anything that's got this spreading white umbel, this is going to be a really, really good pollinator. Valerian is just covered with pollinators, usually, when it's flowering. And you can see the stem goes all the way back here. Step over this kale seed, and it comes down here. I have a huge bed of valerian right here. You can kind of see they're starting to hang over. They're getting near the end of their life cycle with the flowers. And we also had a huge torrential rain, so those top heavy flowers are not doing so well. But valerian, also, it self-seeds so easily throughout the whole garden, and I love that. I love it when things self-seed. I know it can get to be a handful, but they pull out so easily if you don't want it somewhere. So valerian is really good for insomnia. I put this in my sleep aid that I make. I make tinctures out of the roots, and a lot of people don't like the smell of roots. They say that valerian smells like sweaty gym socks. I actually like the smell. I think it smells very herbal, and I just enjoy that kind of stuff. So I don't know, maybe I'm weird. So here's valerian. It's good for insomnia, nervousness, if you have headaches, anxiety, any kind of like psychological stress. And there's one more thing. What does this do? It helps with acne, actually. Like, go figure. Anyway, so here's the valerian. And then there's a lot of bee balm. There's some sunflowers. I love that there's sunflowers. Kind of spreading itself around. If you see right here, my father-in-law is building my mother-in-law greenhouse. I could not be more excited about that. Here is comfrey, and this, I kind of use this as like my harvesting of the roots comfrey area. But you can see all these flowers have fallen down. It's time for me to cut this back and start laying this down as a soil building mulch. That's what comfrey is really good for, as far as like different types of aids for the garden. But as far as health wise, comfrey is really good at healing. So if you have a internal wound or an external wound, comfrey is really good at fixing that fast. I had my friend that I went to go visit in Iowa, she just had carpal tunnel surgery, and she had her skin was divided right here, and I had her put some of this comfrey salve on it, and like the next day it was healed. It was crazy. She couldn't understand how fast that worked and how it could work that fast. You can also use comfrey for an eye wash if you're having like troubles with your eyes. This is a tea of this would be good for throat infections, but mainly it's wound healing, and so salves of the root especially are really good, and it spreads, so it's okay to harvest the roots on this because it does really well. These are some blueberries. I'm so excited about the blueberries. Okay, so in this bed, you can hardly see it right now, and apparently I have some tomatoes that are kind of popping up on their own. But in this bed, they've died back. I have saffron, and the saffron grows in the fall. It blooms in the fall and the winter, and then it does some beautiful things in the spring, but it pretty much dies back in the summer. So saffron is those little stamens that you buy from the store, and it's like $100,000 for like 3 of them. It's probably the most expensive herb on the planet per ounce. This saffron is a bulb, and it's a crocus bulb. And so if you know anything about bulbs like irises or daffodils or stuff like that, they spread very easily. And interestingly enough, saffron spreads as well. So you can get, 16 saffron bulbs, plant them, and then in a couple of years you end up with, 4 times as many almost, it seems like. So I don't know exactly what the division rate is for that, but saffron is really good for libido. It's good for anxiety and depression. If you have problems with the side effects of going through menopause, if you have PMS symptoms that are not fun, what else does saffron do? Saffron is good for Alzheimer's. Did I say depression? So saffron is really good. It's not just a spice. A lot of these spices that you put in your food, if you can get organic, non-processed herbs and put them in your food can become healing, which I think is really neat. And so what I try to do is I try to gather these herbs. I try to make them into tinctures, into salves, into teas. I dry them, but I also try to cook with them as much as possible, just to ingest as much of these good stuff as I possibly can and give it to my family as well. So there's a lot of benefits to using herbs, as long as they're done right. Like if you get stuff that's been super processed and all the good stuff has been killed, then it's not so great. But anyway, I'm going on a tangent. Let me keep going on with the tour. Okay, so here I am. I'm sitting right next to the saffron, and here is Lovage. Lovage is really great for like kidney health, kidney stones. It helps prevent like allergic reactions, which I need this because sometimes I have allergic reactions. I get hives all over my body if I'm eating the wrong stuff. This helps with PMS as well. It helps clear your skin. It helps with weight loss. And so here's the Lovage. And then here is my rhodiola rosea. And I could not be more excited about having rhodiola rosea in my garden. I ordered these roots from Iceland, and they came, and they're looking really good. They came up. I planted them last fall, and I was praying and hoping that they would grow. And they really, I think they go down to like zone 1, but they really like sandy soil. And if you look at the soil underneath this leaf mold, it's starting to get better, but it is definitely sandy still. So the whole point of the leaf mold is to just keep back weeds, and also to and try to rejuvenate the soil. These guys would be fine with sandy soil though. And the roots of the rhodiola rosea is what you're actually using when you use this plant for medicine. And the roots get huge. They're like huge. And so having some, they will spread, and then you can harvest one plant and basically have enough medicine for your whole family. So rhodiola rosea, you could use this to help boost your energy, boost your immune system. It's good for depression. It helps with your cognitive function. And then it also helps with libido. So I guess having the saffron and these right next to each other was kind of a good idea. Anyway, so I have these here. I want this to spread. And I made this cute little stone to tell me about it. This is one of the first things that I planted and I wanted to plant. And I planted it from seed, and this did not do well from seed. But I definitely misspelled that. It's supposed to be rosea instead of rosa. But I was new then. I was a newbie back in the day. Here is fennel. This is bronze fennel, and I just decided that I'm completely in love with fennel. I think it's so beautiful. And fennel also gets those umbels, so the pollinators are just going to love this. And then I'm going to spread the seed, and I'm going to save a lot of the seed from this for medicine as well. So fennel is really good for if your babies have colic. This is really good. It helps with digestion. If you're bloated, you can use fennel. It's anti-inflammatory, and people have been researching fennel for as a cancer remedy, or helping fight cancer. So obviously I'm going to have this in my garden. Also, fennel is a host plant for swallowtail butterflies, as well as dill, carrots, stuff like that. And so I want that in my garden as well. Here is my beautiful, we still haven't gotten mulch. I need to put mulch down on top of this. Here's my beautiful rock rose. And so this year we did an experiment, and we trimmed back one bush that looked like it really needed it. And this is what it looks like, because it was pretty much evergreen, but it kind of looked like this. And so next year I will be cutting it all back. But rock rose has these beautiful, you can't see them right now, but they look like rose blooms, and they're this beautiful pink. Rock rose is really good for viral infections, and then also for Lyme's disease. And my husband has Lyme's disease, and so this is, and my grandfather has Lyme's disease, and my brother has Lyme's disease. And so, not my grandfather, my kids' grandfather, my father-in-law. So rock rose is a really good thing to have, and it's just a really beautiful flower. So if you cut this back every year, and you grew this, and it had these beautiful blooms over it, I don't think it could get much prettier than that. So rock rose, super sandy soil. This does great in drought. All the ones up here are going to do really well in drought, sandy soil, not a lot of nutrition. Okay, so here is my California poppy bed. I did have calendula here one year, and the next year it just would not grow here for some reason, and I'm not exactly sure why. I planted it several times. Here is, and they close up in the evening, and I've been busy doing a lot of stuff today, so I didn't get out here earlier, but California poppy is just beautiful. The most medicinal version of it is this orange, and depending on whether or not it's a light orange or a dark orange is an indicator of what type of soil that you have, if it's a good soil or poor soil. I have some pink California poppy and white California poppy, and it's still medicinal, but it's not packed full of the medicinals as much as the orange ones. But I did like the pink, and you can see there is peanuts growing in between. So there's going to be peanuts growing up in here. Also, I put some gilia seeds, and the gilia should be popping up soon. So this will fill in. It looked really great with the calendula when that did happen. Okay, let's see. Look at my list. Which direction do I want to go? Okay, I'm going to start over here. Okay, first of all, I want to say a couple of things. I did not have enough money to start all these plants from plant starts. It is very expensive, especially if you're buying herbs. And so most of the herbs that I'm going to show you I planted from seed. If there's a specific herb, because there are like 140 some in here, if there's a specific herb that you guys are interested in knowing how to plant from seed, let me know in the comments below so that I can answer that specific question. I will not be going into that detail while I'm doing this tour right now, though. The California poppy is all from seed. But I'm just assume it was from seed, pretty much. Things like even the rosemary, that was done from seed last year. The soapwort was done from seed. The sage was done from seed. The Santolina was not. That was got at a master gardener sale because my mother-in-law and I are master gardeners. So anyway, here we go. Here is the lovely and popular rosemary. I am absolutely in love with rosemary as well. Rosemary is good for so many things, and a lot of people know it for its memory enhancing capabilities. Like if you're studying for a test, smell rosemary and it will help you. But rosemary is also really good for pain, any kind of inflammation. If you have anxiety, well, I think everybody knows respiratory issues, right? You smell rosemary and that helps a lot with that. It helps also with hair loss. So if you can get a tea of rosemary or a rosemary essential oil and put that in water and use that as a hair rinse, it does a really good job at helping prevent hair loss and helping recover from hair loss. So that's a good thing to know right there. Now here is Santolina. We have a green Santolina and we have a silver Santolina or a gray Santolina. And Santolina is not huge in the medicinal world, herbal medicinal world, but it can be used for like as a disinfectant. Rosemary can help with that too, a little bit. It can be used as like a, what's the word? Stimulant. There we go. Stimulant, antispasmodic, so there is uses to it, but when we planted it, we really just planted it because it just smells so good. We were at the plant sale and it was on sale for like $2 and we brushed our fingers along it and smelled it. Oh my goodness, it smells so good. A lot of people use Santolina as a little hedge, and I just learned this from my mother and I'm kind of excited about that. Kind of want to do that. And here is sage. We already talked about sage, but here is my soapwort. This is the thing that I get asked a lot of questions about. Right now, it just got done flowering. It was basically like just a carpet of flowers, and you can see all these seed heads everywhere. I'm going to try to get this to spread because this whole thing is one plant. I mean, really, like you can lift this thing up like it's one plant. Isn't that crazy? I tried to divide it. It didn't work. Okay, so soapwort, you can use this to make soap. It sapifies, and so you can clean your clothes with it. It also helps brighten the colors of your clothes if you use this as a soap. You can clean yourself with it. But it also, as an herb, helps with cough, bronchitis. It is a strong expectorant, and if you take too much of it, like you can use it as a purgative to kind of help yourself throw up if you need to throw up. So there is that. Okay, so here is chamomile, and it is going to seed. We had so many harvests of this, and chamomile, I'm hoping will start spreading throughout the whole yard at this point. But I'm going to take these seeds and I'm going to spread them literally everywhere because I can't think of anything much better than having chamomile everywhere. So everybody knows that chamomile is a very gentle herb, and you can use this for kids even. And chamomile tea is one of the most popular teas on the planet as far as herbal teas go, because it just helps you calm down and kind of soothes anxiety, depression, stuff like that, but it helps you sleep as well. This can also help with, like, if you have stomach cramps from eating too much, or your stomach hurts, or even if you have PMS and you have PMS cramps, you can use chamomile tea and it will actually work a lot better than like ibuprofen, or what is it that people use for, there's a specific medicine that women use, Midol, there we go, for their PMS cramps. I never really use that. I just use chamomile tea and it works better. So helps with diarrhea, indigestion, stress, stuff like that. And then I also have okay, so this is German chamomile. There's Roman chamomile right there, and I also have Roman chamomile in the food forest. But Roman chamomile is very similar And I will go over some of the differences later on, but right now we're moving on to my dandelion bed. So when you have a dandelion bed in your garden with soil that's actually, you know, good-ish, better than like, you know, compacted soil out in the lawn. Where's lawn? I can't find lawn. All the way out there. It's a good sign, I think. But if you give them a garden bed where their roots can grow big and strong and thick and deep, you can get more medicine from them, and actually healthier medicine from them. So the greens, you can eat those. They're a bitter food. It's really, really good for you. So this helps, bitters help with digestion, dry skin. If you use the roots in like a salve or something like that, it can help with dry skin. It helps detoxify the organs. It helps with UTIs. If you have tonsillitis, if you need to clear out like your thyroid or your lymph nodes, or there's an infection there, that helps with it. There is a alarming lack of bitters used in our daily diet as Americans, I feel. Some people have kind of avoided that and purposely bring bitters into their diets, but a lot of people, like, our food is very bland, and it's sad because bitters are so important. I mean, it really, we have a bitter section on our tongue, right? And we can taste that. It's there for a reason. We should be eating bitters almost every day because it really, like, it would help with obesity. It would help with a lot of things, but digestion needs bitters in order to work at its fullest capacity. And so if you really want to be digesting your food well, getting those nutrients as much as you can, you need to have bitters in your diet. And so things like dandelion or artemisia is a really good thing to have in your diet. As I'm doing this video, can we all just agree that I'm not telling you guys to take any of these herbs for any certain things, because I am not a doctor and I do not have any kind of degree in this at all. This is all just home research done with lots of books, online research, stuff like that. But I am not a doctor, and I'm not trying to promote like a treatment, a type of treatment for anybody due to a disease or an illness or anything like they have. Okay, so please don't get mad at me. I'm just sharing with you why I grow certain things and what I grow in my garden. Okay, so moving on from the dandelion, I have something that's kind of similar, and this is burdock. And a lot of people have this as weeds, which I'm a little bit jealous of, but this is actually called gobo burdock. And I have another one right here. It's actually been difficult for me to get this to grow. I also have radishes that are growing right here, and I'm very excited about the radishes. But the gobo burdock has a huge, long taproot that's very, very, very big. I mean, that's why they call it gobo. But it is very similar to dandelion. It's a blood cleansing, skin clearing, joint. If you have joints that are swelling, you know, helping out with that. And then it also helps with chronic illnesses. So if you can have burdock root as a staple in your diet, people eat it just to eat it, kind of like potatoes sometimes, but it is a bitter. If you can have that in your diet often, it helps with a lot of chronic illnesses. And so here is, I am in love with my mugwort. This is my mugwort, and let me show you something that I love about mugwort. This is one of the defining features of it, but if you see underneath the leaves, let's see if I can get that to clear up there. Look at how beautiful that is. The undersides of the leaves are silver. The on top is green, but I just think that is just gloriously beautiful. And I think it kind of looks like a hand with fingers kind of sticking out. Anyway, we got some flowers that are going to start happening. But this stuff is taller than me. Like, oh, it's really high up. Mugwort is a artemisia, and it is very good for digestive problems, because remember, artemisias are bitters, right? So any kind of bitter is going to help with digestive problems. You can use mugwort to make beer. That sacred herbal healing beers book that I was talking about in the other video that I did the other day. Also, look at these. This stem with the red on it. Can you see? Isn't that just gorgeous? Oh, I just love that. Anyway, sacred herbal healing beers. Mugwort was used often. You can use it as an insect repellent. Also, if you have irregular periods, this can help regulate them. It also helps give you energy. And so down here, next to it, we have hyssop. And I love hyssop. I think the flowers on hyssop are just gorgeous. I'm hoping that the hyssop will spread to this little empty area right here. I just keep hoping that. You can tell that it's rained a lot. I need to weed. The grass is encroaching. Hyssop helps with indigestion. If you have ulcers, it can help with that. It can help with asthma. Hyssop is a really good one. It's also a huge pollinator. And you'll notice we've got some more oregano right here. And here are the chickens. And the oregano is going into the chicken coop. And the chickens can go ahead and snack off of that. And that helps keep them healthy as well. Because you remember, oregano was like antibacterial, antifungal, anti-inflammatory, anti-parasitic, antioxidant. I mean, if your chickens are eating that, you know that you're going to have healthier chickens overall. And that is for sure. So we like to have herbs growing right up against the chicken fence so they can snack on things if they want to. Okay, so we're going along. And yeah, I'm definitely going to have to do multiple videos. We're past 20 minutes already. So you can't see it yet. There's just a little bit of them popping up right now. But I planted a lot of spilanthes seed here. And spilanthes is also known as toothache plant. And apparently I have a... Look at, this is a volunteer tomato. Do you see how huge this is? I mean, this is growing from seed as soon as the weather warmed up enough for tomatoes. Look at how big that is. Anyway, that's a whole nother rant. You should see my tomato video. Okay, so spilanthes is going to be growing here. I'll put a video on here of this. So I have used spilanthes a lot this year. I don't know if you guys have seen any of my other videos, but I've had quite a lot of dental problems this year. I've had to have my wisdom teeth removed. I had to have another tooth removed, and they're going to work on fixing that because I just don't like having that gap right there, and it bothers me. And but that's basically because I haven't gone to the dentist in like 20 years or 30 years or something like that. So it's not that bad, but I did, she was actually really impressed with how good my teeth looked. And I think it's because I use spilanthes. Spilanthes is also known as the toothache plant, and it kind of has like this conical shape. Some people know it as like the bullseye plant. And when you bite into the flower bud or the leaves or the stems, but it's mostly concentrated in the leaf bud or the flower bud, it will make your mouth go numb and it will tingle. And so that tingling feeling is actually like antibacterial, antimicrobial, all those things, like really just like cleaning your mouth. And then the numbing effect is really good, and which is why they call it the toothache plant. So if you have a toothache, chew on a spilanthes bud, it will numb the pain, and it will also help clean your teeth as well. And so it's also really good if you take if you eat like a bud a day, it can clear your stomach, not your stomach. There's a word, what's the word? Your digestive system of candida, which is something that I think we all could use. Most people suffer from having candida in their stomachs, their intestines. My husband actually has candida on his brain, which is awful, and it manifests itself like depression and anxiety, and it is very difficult to get rid of. But the spillanthus can help with that. And so I grow a big patch, even though it looks empty right now. I grow a big patch of that, and it comes back every year, and I end up having a big one. It's slow going at first. Herbs are slow going at first, but then once they catch hold, then they do their thing. And this is an annual, so every year I have a new batch that comes along, and I make tinctures out of it that I can turn into like mouthwashes and mouth rinses. So it's not just good for your teeth, it's good for your gums as well. So that can help with gum care. Some people use it for fighting malaria. Like it can help with malaria. That's kind of a big deal. It can help with dysentery. Spillanthus is a really important herb to have, and it self-seeds itself. I just like to keep some of the seeds myself and spread them so that I know that they're going exactly where I want them to. Sometimes when you let things self-seed on their own, they kind of do their own thing, which is great. But in this garden, this is a more of like a garden bed type of garden. And so I like to have things in certain spots. In the food forest, wherever. If it goes there and it's happy, then I'm happy. So on to the next. Okay, standing up. Here is a plant that I'm very excited about. You don't often see this plant in people's gardens, but this is gumweed. And this is, there's going to be flowers very soon. You can kind of see them getting ready to do their thing. But gumweed is, I got this because it helps with like snake bites. We have a lot of snakes around here, and just in case my kids get bit, I can use this on our way to the hospital to get the anti-venom, right? It's not like I'll be like, oh, okay, kids, you're fine. We got the gumweed. You'll do. No, we'll get the anti-venom, but this will help on the car ride there because we are 45 minutes away from the hospital. This is also known as a lung herb. So this helps with asthma, bronchitis, emphysema. If you have raw, irritated, sore lungs from maybe coughing too much, this will help. It's an expectorant for severe congestion. If you've got all that gunk in your lungs, this will help get it out. You can also help if you have like poison ivy. This helps get rid of that itch and the pain and the swelling and stuff from poison ivy. You can see my valerian is falling down. Oh my goodness, the bees just love this though. And you can see I've got spinach growing down there, and I've got radishes growing. I have Jaguan in that pot, and I have Jaguan in that pot up there, but I'll show you Jaguan later. Here we have Joe Pye. A lot of people know this as Joe Pye weed, and isn't it just, it's beautiful. This is a really, really, really close relative of boneset, and boneset is right here. Boneset is actually more difficult to get to grow in your garden because it's a very wild plant. You'll see this growing along the side of roads often in the forest. But it's cool because when I planted these together, I didn't know that they were related. I also didn't know that they basically do the same thing medicinally. Joe Pye weed has over 100 documented uses by Native Americans. This is a native plant. It is incredible. They used it for everything. Everything from like the common cold to like if you have kidney issues, if you have the fever, a flu, boneset, not boneset. Well, yes, that too. Good boy, Finn. You're such a good boy. Thank you. He's like, man, they're fast. What was I saying? Oh my goodness. Joe Pye weed is very similar to boneset. Now, boneset was called that because they thought that it did really good helping set broken bones, but actually the real bonesetter is really the comfrey back there that I showed you. Boneset is not as good at doing the bone setting, but it's good for flu and colds because remember, it's like almost exactly the same, right? You can use these interchangeably pretty much. If you got lung infections, it helps you sweat. It's good for malaria, a lot of different things. And so I had a chicken get in here somehow. Oh, those chickens. Okay. Here's something wonderful. Do you see behind the astragalus, there's a valerian that seeded itself over there. And then I put sunflowers along all the poles in this garden. There's going to be sunflowers so I can tie the stalks to the poles and keep them upright as they get bigger. But here is one of my pride and joys. This is astragalus, and it is slowly spreading, and hopefully it will continue to spread. It will flower this year, and I have a few that when I planted the seeds, the rain kind of washed the top layer of this soil over the edge of this, and so I have a few astragalus down in the bed behind there. But this is my astragalus. Astragalus is basically just like an adaptogenic herb. Things like jagulon, ginseng, stuff like that. Things that basically just help your body work the way that it's supposed to, so that if you need to fight off an infection, your body is strong enough to be able to do that. It doesn't necessarily help the infection, it just helps your body be strong enough and working together enough to be able to do it. So astragalus is an adaptogenic. It was huge and still is in traditional Chinese medicine. It helps with chronic diseases, and it helps increase vitality. And so you use the root of astragalus. And so I'm letting these grow for a few years. I want to spread a little bit more because you have to kill the plant in order to get the medicine. And that's just hard for me to do. It's very hard. And then I planted a couple of extra tomatoes that I had, and some tomatillos. Nasturtiums are here. And here, this brings us on to our eucalyptus. So I've got silver drop eucalyptus. Got 5 of them, and they're doing pretty good. I'm very excited about the eucalyptus. I did buy these starts. Now you can start these from seeds. I just didn't because I forgot to do that this winter. You gotta start pretty early. Bella, Bella, where are you? There she is. Hi, Bella, Bella. Kitty, kitty. Meow. You, my pretty girl. She's the most ferocious hunter, and she's our little girl cat with the most sweet little cry. Anyway, so she knows there's catnip in here, but they've been killing it. So this is good for, well, most people know eucalyptus. It's good for any kind of respiratory infection. It's a good cold remedy. It's good for coughs, if you have asthma, bronchitis. But a lot of people don't know that eucalyptus can be used as a mouthwash. And I would combine the eucalyptus with the spilanthes over here. And you could, what am I trying to say? Eucalyptus helps with plaque and gingivitis as well. So there's something that you might not have known. I thought that was always cool when I was researching my eucalyptus plants. Okay, so Roman chamomile. Here's my Roman chamomile, and this is very similar to the German chamomile, although the German chamomile is an annual, whereas the Roman chamomile is a perennial, and it is a slow spreader. So this is a really good thing to have. Usually anything with this type of head, there's going to be some kind of medicinal property to it. So things like feverfew, chamomile, there are daisies that are very medicinal. Echinacea has a head like this. This is a very medicinal type look for a flower. Roman chamomile kind of sets itself apart because it does, it's a pain, it helps with pain, okay? If you have fever, it helps flush out toxins. Both of them, both chamomiles help with healthy skin. So in a lot of my face creams, I'll put chamomile in an infusion of chamomile oil or something like that. And then again, it helps calm the nerves just like the other chamomile does. I don't know why I'm focusing on that flower when I could be focusing on this flower, which is full. Isn't that just so beautiful? And it's so small and dainty and pretty. And you can see how bad my nail polish is. That's how much I pay attention to my nail polish. I'm not a nail polish girl. Okay, so moving on. Tomorrow, I guess I'll talk about this yarrow. And you can get yarrow in different colors. I don't know if you knew that, but as soon as I found that out, you bet your bottom dollar I got chamomile yarrow with different colors. Some are very bold, some are very subtle. And again, it's got that umbel shape, so you know the pollinators are gonna absolutely love it. But okay, so this is my yarrow bed, which I adore. Let me go over here just a little bit because I did touch on this, so maybe that means I can touch on these too. So this is mountain mint, and all the mints are going to have a similar kind of action, but then different ones are going to be set apart by different things sometimes. So specifically like mountain mint, you can make a poultice of the leaves for this, for a headache, which is very potent. It's really, really good for that. It helps with PMS. If you have indigestion, it helps kids with colic, anything with coughs, colds, chills, fevers, stuff like that. Mountain mint is really good. Yes. No, okay, I gotta stop because we're gonna get into the Agastache, the Hishawu, the calamus, evening primrose, there's gigolon back there, there's motherwort. I mean, there's a bunch of stuff right in this just one little area. This is my Juneberry. I'm actually really excited about this Juneberry. This is like composting water and a little bit of compost that I picked up today back here, so don't pay attention to that. I just want to show you all the things. Okay, I'm going to stop. We're going to stop right here on mountain mint, and then we'll go on to the next later. Okay, guys, so that was like a fourth of my garden. We still have the food forest. We still have the actual herb garden, which is this one. So I call the herb garden, I call this the herb garden. Everything that's on the outside edge of the garden is all herbs. I hardly put any kind of vegetables in there. The two middle beds are reserved for vegetables, but I also end up putting herbs in there as well. But there are so many medicinals in here, and this is where I put like my really bang for the buck herbs, just because when I really first started getting into doing my herb garden, these are the first herbs that I went for, because they're so powerful and important. And so the other beds, these have been things that I just kind of added later on, not as an afterthought, but where these come faster, and these grow slower. And so I wanted to get these in first. So out of my first stage of herbs, I picked the most potent ones that I could think of, so or that I could research. So that's what's going on in this garden. There's going to be a lot of really good stuff. I hope you stick around for that video. And from the looks of it, I'm going to probably end up doing about 4 of these videos, because I've got this garden, I've got the food forest, and then I've got all the herbs that I've planted outside of all the gardens, something that you can do with herbs, because a lot of critters don't necessarily like to prey on herbs as much as they would like a tomato plant. So considering we got this one and then like 3 more to go, I think this is probably going to end up being a 4-part series. Thank you so much for joining me today and this first tour. I hope you guys had fun. I hope you learned something. If you didn't, if you got questions, anything, please let me know with a comment below, and I will be sure to answer you. That's for sure. I love talking to people in the comment section. Please like and subscribe and hit that notification bell. That supports the channel a lot, and it just is so encouraging to me. Okay, well, I hope you guys have a wonderful night and stay blessed.